Hello, I'm Roger Bisbee from the Skill Builder channel, and I want to talk to you about lime, and more specifically lime in building, because it's one of those slightly misunderstood subjects. Over the years, I've seen so many people who are passionate about lime who say, oh, when you're repointing, you can't repoint with sand and cement, it's got to be lime because the original building was built with lime, so that's what you're going to do. And I started thinking, well, a lot of people don't really know that much about lime. And then I started talking to bricklayers, and bricklayers, a lot of them don't know that much about lime. In fact, they run a mile from it because they don't really like lime. When lime was kind of phased out of modern building, bricklayers thanked the Lord, because basically lime is a very slow way of building. You've got to let it cure. You can't build that high in a day. It's quite dangerous stuff. If you get it in your eye, you know all about it. So you've got to wear goggles, you've got to wear a mask when you're mixing it. So when Portland cement started to become used a lot of bricklayers were very happy to leave the lime alone. But of course, we've got this revivalist thing where people say, oh no, lime's a lot better because it lets the building breathe. So then we're back to lime, and there's no harm in that, except where is the lime? Now, you might wonder why I'm here, and why I'm here is because this beautiful structure behind me is actually an old lime kiln. These were dotted around wherever you got chalk, wherever you got limestone. They built these lime kilns so that they could turn that material into a building lime. And that building lime, in this particular case, this is down in the Surrey Hills in the chalk pits, and that chalk was put into these huge great kilns, and it was fired up, and they produced this lovely lime, which was then transported on little trains all the way up the line into London, and it was used to build London, basically. Now it's looking very sad and neglected, which is a great shame. One of the reasons is that we don't use as much lime as we did, but the other reason is it's a very energy intensive process. It's got to be clean emissions. So things like this, which were basically coal fired, they brought the coal in by trains from South Wales, they took the lime out to London, it produced a lot of smoke. When this thing was burning, you knew about it. Nowadays we've got all these controls on emissions, so we can't produce the lime in the way we used to. Now, there are some modern lime producing kilns around which comply with the modern EU emissions. I know we're not in the EU now, but that was when it all started. So we've got these fantastic environmental rules, all good, but it does mean that what we've ended up doing is importing a lot of our lime from countries that don't have those emission rules. So they've gone outside of the EU to get the lime. They're getting it from places who couldn't give a monkeys about whether they're polluting the atmosphere. And of course, that has put the home producing industry of lime at real risk. It can't survive under those conditions. So there you are, that's another bit of madness. Basically, we make legislation to save the planet, and all we do is shift the problem to somewhere that doesn't care about it. But anyway, I digress. What I want to talk to you about is lime. We've got hydraulic lime, we've got hydrated lime, we've also got something called hot lime, which you mix up and you leave cooking for a few days. We can forget that because that's just too impractical for a lot of people to use. But basically, if you go down to your builders merchants, all you're likely to find in stock on the shelves, and not very much of it, the hydrated lime. Now, hydrated lime, if you mix it up with sand and water, you'll be there for a few years before that stuff sets hard. What you need is something to set it, and that thing is cement. So if you use, say, about 6 of sand, 1 of hydrated lime, 1 of ordinary Portland cement, you've got a lovely mixture which has a lot of the qualities of lime, but none of the drawbacks. It doesn't take ages to set. It becomes a very good material to build with rapidly. In other words, you can build the brickwork, next day you go in there and it's almost set. Not quite, takes a few days, but it's a lot firmer. It's a great product, but the builders merchants sell hardly any of it. The few builders that use it, I use it for rendering, I love it for rendering, I love it for bricklaying, and I love it for pointing. But most builders won't use it. What they use instead is plasticizer, which is kind of like a faux lime, if you like. It produces a lot of the characteristics of lime in as much as it aerates the mix, puts loads and loads of bubbles into the mix, and it makes it easy to work. But of course, instead of having to have big bags and dust masks and all the rest of it, you've just got a little bottle, you put the plasticizer into the mix, whisk it up, you get a lovely creamy fluffy mix that you lay, and that's absolutely wonderful. But what that doesn't do, that plasticizer, is give you the characteristics of a lime when the mortar's set. Now, the great thing about lime is it's got this ability to heal itself. So if you get micro cracking, if you get movement in the building, you get the water leaching the lime through, and it does exactly the same thing as it does with stalactites, stalagmites. It forms lime. It just basically reforms it. The water takes it into solution, and then when it deposits it, it's formed into rock again, back into limestone, if you like. So we've got this wonderful thing they call autogenous healing, which is all the cracks in the render, all the micro cracks that you get. When you do the render, first of all, you might notice them when it rains, you might notice a kind of eggshell crazing on it, but after a few months that will disappear as the lime's just gone back into solution and cured those cracks. Even the hydrated lime, which you mix with the cement, has got these benefits. It can take a certain amount of movement of the building. So if the building is expanding, contracting in the heat and the cold, it can move with it. It makes the mortar more workable. It means that it sticks better to the bricks. So it's got loads and loads of benefits, but builders do not use it. They just do not want to know. They rather have a little bottle of plasticizer, put that into the mix, and away they go. So all these people are going about, oh, isn't lime wonderful? Actually, to a certain extent it is. If you work every day in the building industry, you don't think it's so clever. Certainly lime plastering has gone out. You don't get much of that going on anymore for exactly the same reasons. It's a long, slow process. Lovely to do, but you can't earn any money out of it. And then we come to hydraulic lime. Now, hydraulic lime is a different kettle of fish, if you like. That does set. It sets by what they call carbonation, which is basically it sets with contact with the air, and it takes days and days and days to do it. You can go back and scratch it a week or two after laying the bricks and you'll find it's still soft. But gradually it does harden. Now you've got natural hydraulic lime, NHL 3.5, which is 3.5 newtons, and then you've got stronger lime. But for bricklaying and general work like that, you would use 3.5 newtons. But the thing is, that 3.5 newtons is still pretty tough stuff. It's as hard as the brick that you're laying. So you should never have the mortar stronger than the brickwork. So sometimes the NHL 3.5 is a little bit too hard for the job, even that. So they mix it up generally around 3:1, so 3 parts of sand to 1 part of NHL 3.5, and it actually produces quite a hard mix once it goes off, once it's had a couple of weeks to set, and it continues to harden. So it's actually no better than using something like a hydrated lime with a 6-1-1 mix, because you get the same kind of compressive strength. You still end up with a 3.5 mix, you still end up with the breathability, if you like, you still end up with the ability for it to move and for it to autogenously heal itself, but you don't have the aggro of waiting around for days and days and days for it to cure. So that's why you don't see so much hydraulic lime out on the streets. You won't find it in the merchants, you have to order it in specially, and that's why hydrated lime is sold in very, very small quantities to discerning builders who know the secret to lime. So I hope that's helped clear up a few of the misunderstandings about lime. You've got hydrated lime, hydraulic lime, hot lime, and even though the hydraulic lime is the one to use in terms of the purists, it does actually have a few drawbacks in practicality. So let's just go down and have a look at this lovely old lime kiln before we go, and we can see what they used to do there. So this brick-built structure, I guess, is built with sand and lime. See all the pegs all the way up the side? That's where they would have had a staging around there, and they would have climbed up like a bit of a staircase. And then you can see these cast iron doors where they would have probably shoveled out the lime. I'm not sure how this works exactly, but you can see them lower down, you can see them higher up. They would put a fire in the middle, and that would go up and it would heat the lime from the top. And as the lime was heated, as the chalk was heated, it all filtered down and was shoveled out at the bottom. As I say, I'm not entirely sure how it was done, but it was a process which involved an awful lot of manual labour. And of course they got the lime from the quarries, and that all came in either with a horse and cart or some wheelbarrows, guys digging it out with shovels, bringing it down. This is a bit of chalk that's been left there, and you can see just how hard that stuff is. They would have broken it out in huge great lumps and then just smashed it up so that it was small enough to put inside the kiln. To show you just how much builders hate it, I saw some builders working on an old structure. They were adding an extension to it, and the customer had insisted that they use sand and lime, but they weren't going to use sand and lime because they're fed up with using it. I said to him, "Oh, you're doing a nice bit of sand and lime there," and he said, "No, mate, white cement." The customer thinks it's lime. Quite honestly, they never know the difference. So there you are, the builder was using the white cement and getting away with it. But of course, if you're using a cement mix with plasticizer in it and you only go 6:1 with a bit of plasticizer in it, that doesn't make a fantastically hard mix. That's not unforgiving. And because it's got all that aeration in it from the plasticizer, it means that the water can still escape. In other words, it's not locking in the moisture like a lot of people think. Because it's got all those little air pockets in it, if you like, it's letting the moisture out, it's breathing, and it's also resisting frost, because if the water gets in there and it freezes, because it's got all those little bubbles of air in, it forms a kind of buffer. It gives the expanded water somewhere to go. So instead of it spalling and damaging the mortar in the way that it would if it was a hard cement, the fact that it's got plasticizer in there actually does a lot of good. So this lovely little row of cottages here, these were all built for the people that worked in the quarries and the lime kilns. Lovely little places. They would have been very humble workers' cottages, probably had about 6 kids crammed in each one of those, and now of course they're probably worth over £500,000 each. Of course, when the workers lived in them and they lived their whole life in these cottages, brought their families up, thought they had a secure job, breathing in the lime dust all day, then of course the lime kilns closed and they were probably all chucked out of the cottages onto the scrap heap. Probably a lot of them made their way to London to find work. So there's a classic bit of repointing with a bit of sand and cement on an old lime building. I love doing this job. Just you and your radio, your music, no stress. So this is what he's using, and what he's saying is he needs to mix it up and then leave it in the tub for 24 hours before they actually start using it. So he's got his bag, he's mixed it up in the tub here. It doesn't go off, it stays like that for a long time. It's lovely, kind of like putty. Beautiful stuff. And spookily, just as we're walking down the road looking at these cottages, we see that they're actually building an extension here. And he's pointing the whole thing up with sand and lime so that it matches the existing and looks good. So that was a classic example of what I was talking about. They're not going to build the building with sand and lime, they're building the building with sand and cement. Then they're just raking the joints back and repointing it with sand and lime, so it gives the appearance of being built with sand and lime and therefore matches in with the rest of the property. But there's no harm in that. It just goes to show customers and the general public are being seduced by this idea of breathability and sand and lime, and they love it so much, but the builders are actually just going their own way, as they usually do.